Hello, my name is Karina Carmona, and today I'll be doing a tutorial on the Altered Book Journal. And in this project, what we'll be using is Mod Podge, bleeding art tissue paper, an old book, either an encyclopedia or any old book that you no longer need that we'll be recycling and making into your Altered Book Journal. You'll also need a medium-sized paintbrush, pencil, scissors, and any kind of container that you can use to hold your Mod Podge mixture. And for this particular project, we'll be making a book cover for the Altered Book Journal. And for the assignment for my students, they have to print out a picture of an animal that represents themselves. They'll have to print out their favorite quote or poem, and they'll also have to print out their first and last name. And the first step that we'll do is you'll take a blank or white sheet of tissue paper, okay, and on your table, so that you don't want any of the Mod Podge to stick to the table. You want to protect the surface. So if there's any holes or tears in your plastic, put some tape over it. And make sure that your plastic area is nice and wide to accommodate your tissue paper. Okay, so using the white tissue paper is the best background, because any other colors that you put over that, it won't interfere with the color of the tissue paper in the back. Okay, so the first step that we'll do is put out your tissue paper, make sure you have your lining, and always wear an apron as well to protect your clothing. And you're going to place your book right in the center, and with your pencil, and you can kind of open both sides, see if you have enough room on either side, and that's a pretty good space right there. And go ahead and mark where your spine is going to be. The spine of the book is the edge where usually the title is, so the spine of your book is this part right here. And you want to have your spine right in the center. Okay? And then go ahead and open both sides of the books and just lightly trace your book. And I say lightly because tissue paper is very fragile, especially when you're going to add water and Mod Podge to it for this project. It's going to become very, very fragile. Okay, so you just want a very light outline to know where your book is going to be in your center here. Now, everyone will bring in their own books, so all books will be different sizes and shapes and thicknesses. But for this project, the thickness shouldn't matter. We can rip out pages we don't need later or add more pages later as well. Okay, so once you have your outline of your book, you are going to get your papers that we want in your Altered Book cover. And keep in mind that this tissue paper, what we're looking at right here, is this is going to be the front, because once it dries, we're going to lift it up and we're going to turn it over, and it's going to be a book cover here. Okay, so try not to get confused where the front and the back is. So we did the outline here. Your front is going to be right here on the right side. The back of your book is going to be on the left side. So the front, we do want your name right on the bottom. You can arrange it anywhere on there. And go ahead and trim your picture out. That way we can make the most of the space on here. Put your animal on there and place your name and your animal where you would like on your front cover. And go ahead and put your poem or favorite quote on the back. Okay, now if you would like to add anything else at this time, any kind of maybe another quote that you like, but something that describes you, something about yourself, you can add in here at this time. Now we're ready to start working with the art tissue paper. So what we'll do is we're going to cut it into strips just like this, and we're going to take each strip and we're going to cut them into squares, okay? And these may already be done for you by your teacher, so you might already have these ready, and you'll have small places like this. And determine how you want to arrange the colors on here. There's several beautiful colors in this art tissue paper, so you pick out the colors that you like. I tell my students to outline the edges with the black and brown. That way these colors are going to bleed into each other, but these are perfect for the outside or the layer. So you would outline your outside with black and brown, and this also helps to use up these colors that usually don't get used up. And when you do get to the part where you're going to cover your pictures, use light colors only, because if you use a dark color over that, your picture will get lost. So use very, very light colors. Okay. Now for this owl here, I want to use pink. So I'm going to be using lighter pinks, and on the outside you can, go darker, or whatever colors you want to go to. And keep in mind that when you add two different colors that are opposite colors on the color wheel, like complementary colors, let's say blue and orange, keep in mind what blue and orange are going to create, because these colors are going to be mixing into each other. So keep in mind what colors these are going to turn into. That's why I would try to keep the colors in the same family, or keep them gradually getting to one color to the next. Unless you want, opposite colors. If that's what you want, by all means, go ahead and do that. But you can cut them. If you would prefer a jagged edge on that, you could tear your tissue paper, and it creates this really interesting torn look to it, which is what I prefer on my book cover. But let me go ahead and show you what you're going to do when you're ready to start. When you've selected your colors and you're ready to start somewhere with the tissue paper, you are going to take a mixture, and what I did here is I mixed half Mod Podge and I put 1/4 of water. So this is a water and Mod Podge mixture, and I'm going to go ahead and pour it in here. And with the paintbrush, you want to first glue down your pictures, any papers, your name, any other material. And with your Mod Podge, you have to paint out the whole area, okay? You want to make sure you've got every little part covered, the whole size of your printout here, okay? And just go a couple of times. Keep in mind that once tissue paper gets wet, it's very fragile, so you have to work quickly, and you have to just go brush over the area once or twice, and try to be very careful with it. But once you've covered the whole area here, make sure it's nice and soaking wet, but you don't want too much. You don't want an excess of the water Mod Podge mixture. Place your image down, okay, and then put another layer of Mod Podge and water, the mixture, over that. And this Mod Podge is an excellent medium to either seal, or you can do this decoupage effect with this. Okay, so it's kind of gluing and sealing at the same time. Okay, and I want a nice good coat of this mixture all over the paper. Okay, and you'll do the same thing when you're ready to move on to the name, and you work your way across, but start in one area first. Okay, and right here, make sure that it doesn't dry. If you're going to put paper over that, make sure, just put a real thin layer just to make sure that it's still wet. Put your mixture, your tissue paper on there, and brush it out. Make sure you don't have any air pockets. Make sure that every little piece is nice and sealed. It's nice and flat, and try to eliminate as much bubbles as you can. And keep in mind also that this bleeding art tissue paper, it will kind of mix with the colors. So, and you'll probably see this right now when I add a darker color pink. Okay, you're absorbing the water, or the tissue paper is absorbing the water, and you can see how the colors kind of mix out. Now, you do want to be careful because tissue paper, if you go over too many times in the same area, your brush might tear the paper, so you got to be really, really careful. And here I just want to demonstrate how you can mix a few colors, and I'm going from light pink to dark pink, and you let this paper soak a little bit, and you can see how this color just bleeds out a little bit. But remember, you don't want to go too dark over your picture. You want to keep the colors light there. But you can see how the tissue paper is already bleeding into each other. Now, once this absorbs a lot of the water, it will mix a little bit more, and you'll see the difference when it dries. Okay, now on this area where you have your paper, it is already thick, but when you get to the area, and you want to go a little bit outside of your line, about 2 inches. Okay, you don't want to stop right there, you want to continue a little bit more. When you do that, make sure that you are putting at least 3 to 4 layers of tissue paper overlapping, because we want this paper to be nice and thick, about 3 or 4 layers. And what I mean is, I've already put 2 here, or there's already 1 here, and put another one over that. That's 2. And even with the, a larger piece of paper or larger section of tissue paper, put a 3rd one. So you want a good 3 to 4 layers of tissue paper on this area. Okay, over here, this area, you'll need 3 to 4 layers of tissue paper, and over all of these areas as well, 3 to 4 layers of tissue paper. Okay, so make sure that if you take off this excess water mixture, it'll dry faster. Okay, Mod Podge is a medium that dries pretty quickly. You don't have to wait too long, but just keep on layering. And remember to keep these light colors available over here. Have your colors ready so that you can work quickly and finish this in hopefully one class setting. But you're going to fill up this whole area here with your Mod Podge and tissue paper. It's a decoupage technique, but once this dries, you'll have this whole area here, at least 2 inches around the whole outline that you just did, and it's going to be completely covered with tissue paper. And once it's dry, completely dry, then we can go ahead and peel this off, but only when it's dry. Don't attempt to peel it off when it's still wet, because it will fall apart. But once it's completely dry, you can peel it off, and we're ready to put it onto your book.